So for knitting this coaster or the washcloth, I'm using two different size of needle. This smaller size, I'm not going to use it for knitting. This is for just for the cast on, and this is 0 size, of 0 US size, and this is 1 US size. The bigger one will be used for knitting, the smaller one is just for the cast on. So for this particularly, you can just use a long tail cast on and then follow the pattern which I have written, and then continue knitting, and at the end of the work you can pick up the stitches and then do a Kitchener stitch. That should also be sufficient, but just to show you how I do it, so we will cast on the number of stitches as inscribed in my pattern. So for the first one, we'll make a slip knot, insert the big needle because this is the one which we'll be using it, and then the smaller needle below the big needle, the shorter yarn on your index finger and the longer yarn on your thumb. Then we'll cast on the required number of stitches. So the number of stitches is not the same as in the pattern, but this is just for the example. Okay, so now what you have to do is pull out the smaller needle and then just let it hang loose, because these stitches, the stitches on the smaller needle, will be using it for Kitchener stitch at the end, and then turn the work. Okay, so there are like small bumps here, and here there is no bumps, so you turn the work at the side of the work where there is small bumps, and then start knitting with your bigger needle. So start knitting with your bigger needle. For the first line, I like to knit it at the back of the loop because this is easier to knit. Okay, so this is just hanging loose, you can see that, and this one is your working yarn, working needle. Turn the work again and then start knitting. But this is just an example, so I'm not counting, or I'm not exactly using different color of the yarn, because this is just to show you how I do it. Okay, so probably when we reach a certain number, and then when the pattern says turn, you turn the work. And for this I usually, okay, so I will also show you how I do it. So I just insert the needle as if to knit, but without wrapping it. Knit and then just free it, and then start knitting again. So this is how I do it. Okay, so follow the pattern, and then we'll do the bind off or we'll do the Kitchener stitch at the end of the work.